You need to learn to give yourself grace. What do I mean by that? Sometimes we're just too hard on ourselves. We don't exercise perhaps the same amount of patience with ourselves as we do with others. We set unrealistic expectations for ourselves, and when we don't meet them exactly as we may have envisioned, we get despondent, frustrated, and we often beat ourselves down. And that can lead to depression. It can create unnecessary anxiety, and it can sometimes send you into a tailspin. When we don't practice self-care, and when I say practice self-care, I mean identifying the type of self-care that is most beneficial to us, not what we've heard someone else talk about or we've watched someone else do, but really tapping in to your inner desires and needs, honestly, tapping into what most benefits you, what reinvigorates you, what energizes you, what calms you. When we learn the type of self-care that we need individually, and when we begin to practice that self-care, and what I mean by that is setting aside the time that you need to be able to get yourself back to that state of being level, being calm, being present in the moment, and able to be fully focused on the things that you need to focus on, even if that is focusing on yourself and your needs at that moment. Practicing self-care is a vital component to mental health. Practicing self-care can alleviate the unnecessary stressors that we all face every day. They may not be necessary, but unfortunately, they are a part of living and life. Those stressors can come from your job. They can come from family commitments. They can come from people pleasing. We have control over that. I'm Sage Hill, and this is the Social Sage Podcast. And today we're going to be talking about practicing self-care, but most importantly, giving yourself grace, allowing yourself to experience the gift of grace, self-grace. Oftentimes in our lives, we set expectations for ourselves. We have goals that we want to achieve. And many times the goals that we are trying so hard to accomplish aren't even our own goals. Perhaps you are trying to live up to expectations that someone else has set. How often do we neglect what we need in order to meet the needs of someone else? And sometimes all we need is time to just stop, time to do nothing, time to accept silence into your life. How often are we listening to others or participating in conversations that are really meaningless to us? And how often are we participating in conversations, yet we have so many other things on our minds that we're really not fully there in the moment? we're not able to fully focus. A lot of times, a lack of focus is a result of stress and anxiety that build up as a result of allowing other people's expectations to take over. When you begin to feel as though you are overwhelmed, that is the time that you need to give yourself grace. Allow yourself to relax. Allow yourself to make a mistake, because mistakes are how we learn. If you're not able to do something that you wanted to do or achieve something that you wanted to achieve, even in this year, there's always tomorrow. It's okay. Take a deep breath, dust yourself off, and acknowledge that it's okay if you fail. Because failure is not the end. Perhaps it's just a sign that it's not time. Perhaps it's a sign that this wasn't something that you really needed. Or perhaps it's a sign that it's not something that would actually benefit you in this moment, at this time. Now, I want to talk about people pleasing, because I mentioned that earlier, that oftentimes we are so busy trying to do things for others and to live up to the expectations of others. And we are constantly on this grind, this hamster wheel, if you will, to try and please others at the expense of ourselves. When we deny ourselves what we need and instead focus on providing for the needs of others, what we're giving in that moment is not even really genuine. Because how can you truly give to others if you haven't given to yourself? If you haven't taken the time to replenish yourself? Self-replenishment, that is important. We place so much emphasis on all of our physical health needs that we often negate the health of our minds. Being overwhelmed with so many responsibilities and tasks and expectations, it's a lot. And so I am encouraging you to take a step back, to think about the things that you want, to think about the things that you would like to accomplish, and to be realistic when you're setting your goals. Understanding that there is a time and a place for everything, and everything will happen in due time. Another thing that we often fail to do when it comes to allowing ourselves just a little bit more grace is when we are so caught up in the day-to-day living and all that comes with it, particularly around the holidays. We're so laser focused on accomplishing so many things and being all things to all people and being able to be available to everyone according to their timelines. And it can be a lot. And especially with all of the expectations that, we see on television, that, this whole season of gift giving and all of that, it can become overwhelming. I'm going to turn this off, my focus, because I'm not able to focus when I'm getting emails, and it's taking away my ability to concentrate on you and this topic of self-care and allowing yourself more grace. So, as I was saying, during this holiday season, there are so many expectations that really aren't even expectations. We take them as expectations. Just because you see things on television or on social media where people are taking photos at Christmas parties and holiday gatherings and, all of these different events and things that they may be involved in, that could be just a brief moment in time. And that's a snapshot for social media. It doesn't mean that you have to experience that same thing. What does this season mean to you? How do you want to spend your time during the holidays? It's not about everyone else. There is a reason for this season, as I'm sure you've often heard, and we all may have different reasons. We all have different belief systems, but ultimately, there has to be a reckoning with yourself. A reckoning wherein you stop and you ask yourself what it is that you need. It's not about gifts and gift giving. It's really about the time that you allow for yourself to understand and recognize what it is that you really need. And sometimes all that we need is just to step back for a moment, to reflect, to be introspective, and to acknowledge that while perhaps maybe we did not get everything that we wanted, achieve everything that we desired, feel every feeling, emotion that we wanted to feel or experience, we're still here and we're okay. And if we're not okay, that's okay too, because it's okay not to be okay. But what's not good, what's not healthy, is when you acknowledge that you're not okay, but you keep going and you keep grinding because you're trying to meet the expectations of others. No, this is time for you to acknowledge what you need. And it's time for you to give yourself grace. Grace for all of the things that you did that really didn't suit you because you were trying to please others, things that you said yes to when in actuality you really didn't want to do that. It's okay to say no. And when you say no, not to feel guilty about it. That is practicing grace. When you tell yourself that it's okay that you missed the mark, that is practicing grace. When you feel frustrated with yourself because of how you responded in a moment of high stress, acknowledge it, apologize where necessary, but don't beat yourself up. Give yourself grace. If you are feeling a certain way, perhaps because you're comparing yourself to others. How often do we do that? We compare ourselves to others as if somehow our lives are supposed to be mirrored images of what we see on social media, on television, what we see in person, what we hear others saying about their lives, how their lives appear to be progressing. And perhaps you feel that you're somehow stagnant and stuck, but you're not. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. And it's not always about learning a lesson, but it is always about timing. If there are things that you really want or need, what can you do about it? What are some things that you could do to change your situation? Maybe it's not ideal. Maybe you need extra money, and the best way to do that is either start a business or find another job, something that you enjoy doing. Perhaps it's a hobby that could become income for you. But you have to identify those things that are making you unhappy. And when you identify them, then start to identify solutions. Whenever you have a problem, there's always a solution. And the best solution comes from within. When you think about the solution more than you think about the problem will go away. Many times we would rather just think about the problem, because thinking about the solution, well, that requires effort on our parts. How many times have you found yourself just wallowing in self-pity? Just repeating the same thoughts over and over again. Certainly not practicing grace, not giving yourself grace, but rather just staying in that moment of self-pity. Well, it's time to move away from that. Take your time, throw your pity party, but after your pity party, it's time to do something about it. And the only person that can do something about it is you. And after you are no longer wallowing in your pity, in your moment, you'll take action. But first, you'll extend yourself some grace, because we've all been there and we'll be there again at some point. Life is like a journey up a hill and back down. It's filled with twists and turns, unexpected events and moments, things we didn't anticipate, we couldn't anticipate, things we would have preferred not to have experienced. But alongside of all of that, we have experienced good things, great things, happy moments, memories that will last us a lifetime. We have accomplished things. If you just look around, you have more blessings than you probably have ever taken the time to acknowledge. Every day is a blessing. When we look at the news and we see all of these unexpected and oftentimes tragic events that happen to people who left their homes just like we do to run errands or to go to work or to do anything, like go start their car, and they don't make it back inside. But we're here. We're here to live another day. So while you're here, while you're still breathing, while you're still living, give yourself grace. and find the things that make you smile, the things that bring you calm. It could be as simple as aromatherapy or just taking time to find a quiet spot in your home and do something that you enjoy. It could be binge watching a show. It could be reading. It could be listening to music. It could be enjoying a warm bath. It could be creating a spa day for yourself. It could be getting a massage. It could be absolutely doing nothing. It could be going for a drive. It could be enjoying company with a loved one and saying absolutely nothing, just enjoying their presence. Find the things that make you happy. Maybe it's exercising. Maybe it's a physical workout. Maybe it's taking a walk. Whatever things make you happy and bring you joy, do those things. And especially during this holiday season, don't be too hard on yourself. Lower those expectations and give yourself grace. As always, it's been a pleasure, my treasure. I'm Sage Hill, and you're listening to The Social Sage. Thank you for listening, and be sure to subscribe to this channel where you will be notified of any and all new episodes that will be posted. And we will be having more episodes more frequently as we head into this new year. Wishing you a happy holiday season. Goodbye.